This is Kathy Chase. I'm just gonna make this a brief recording. I just wanted to talk about some evidence which may or may not be relevant. At Sun Mart, which is in Lincoln, Nebraska, it's a grocery store. It used to be the chain under the name Hinky Dinky. And they have a brand of chips there, in which I've never seen in any other grocery store. The chips are called Uncle Ray's, and they are, it just says Uncle Ray's chips. You can find the website at www.unclerays.com. Anyways, on the back of the bag, there's a picture of Uncle Ray in 1958, and then a picture of the USS Bristol. I think there's a Bristol Windows. I'm not really too sure, but I think it's Bristol Windows. Anyways, there's a story about something about Chapter 11, and how he cooked 12 turkeys Thanksgiving, and talking about cooking turkeys and so forth. It starts out with him talking about, on the back of the package of chips, it says, it's titled The Life and Times of Uncle Ray, Chapter 11, Thanksgiving at Risk. He says he was 17 years old when he joined the Navy in September of 1955. Anyways, I wanted to talk about that, and I've noticed that before, and I don't know, certain brands of chips seem to, I don't know, make some sense to me, I guess. I don't know. A few observations I made tonight, as I put on my blog on MySpace. There's a few more I'd like to go over again. The whole axe thing with woodmen, chopping down forests and that sort of thing, and then there's the woodman building in Omaha, and then there is Woods Park, which is on 33rd and O Street. There is something I wanted to talk about. I was watching TV tonight, and it wasn't a very good signal, and I noticed there was some snow. That's what they call it when a picture's not very it's not clear and it's a little dotted. They call that snow. Television people know this. What you hook up to your televisions is called coaxial cable. Everybody knows that. Everything now, whether it's television and telephone, I believe it's television and telephone, I think in recent 10-15 years, I think they now have laid new fiber optic cables nationwide. Fiber optics. Optics, as you know, is like an optician is somebody who does your glasses or whatever, contacts and so forth. As far as my favorite color being cobalt blue, I made some realizations tonight. There was reasons for that. I mean, blue is obviously in psychology books, they'll tell you blue is the easiest color on the eyes. Red is the hardest color on the eyes to see. It's just harder on the eyes. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. People probably understand what I'm talking about, but, anyways, a black light, which is used for plants, particularly people who grow with grow operations with marijuana. They'll use black lights. And anyways, grow operations as far as like marijuana, Mary Jane. There's so many slang terms for pot or hemp or and so forth. There's a magazine called High Times, and it's HIGH, the same street, High Times magazine. I don't know when it was established exactly, but that's kind of something I wanted to note. There's lots of people who are born on the 20th day of the month, obviously, in the world every time the 20th rolls around. And the whole 420 thing that was established around Woodstock in the 60s, revolving around John Lennon and give peace a chance and all the make love not war, that sort of thing. 420, around that time, the international time of 420 was established in the 60s, and that's where they're getting a lot of this from, and I've talked about that before. In my blog tonight, there were some extremely important notes on MySpace, and I wanted to make that clear to people that I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. There are a lot of landmarks, companies, and such here, in which if you put two and two together, you will get what's happened to me in my life and the whole scenario involved. I talked about Goodyear, the Goodyear plant here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and so forth, and the Goodyear blimp and blimps going over football stadiums and so forth. And so that's very relevant. There's a song I'm going to look up which might be pretty relevant, and I'm not really sure what it is yet. I keep getting new information. As I said, I'm not sure where it's coming from, but I keep getting new information. As everybody knows, I talked about the toe thing, my foot, and then I said, toe, as in, the ball of my foot, Times Square on New Year's Eve, the ball drops. The stitches in my foot are on the ball of my foot. You've got the heel, and then you've got the arch of your foot. You've got 5 toes. This little piggy went to the market. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy ate roast beef. This little piggy had none. This little piggy went wee, wee, wee all the way home. Okay? You can take that sideways and you can get a lot from it. And any stories revolving around like the Big Bad Wolf or with the 3 little pigs and Little Red Riding Hood, Richard Scarry books had pigs in them, and so forth. You know, I guess this kind of happened to my foot because of my grandfather's name or whatever, but I'm not really totally sure, you know, just because his name was Wilbur. And then you have Charlotte's Web, where in Charlotte's Web, you have the spider that put words in the web to try to save the pig's life. Okay. Well, I discussed the ham radio thing and so forth, and in relation to RFID, and I'm not a ham radio. I'm not a 10-4 over and out. You know, the whole lingo of or the whole the handles, they call it handles, and ham radio, where you have certain language. There's been a lot of different codes and languages encrypted into my scenario as I've uncovered it for the past 30 years. There's Spanish numbers, a few Spanish words, and I would go back as far as the 70s with 70th Street, or 70s with Sesame Street. Sorry, Sesame Street. You know, you pick up a few words, and then the numbers, and then there's the letters of the alphabet. There's the numbers of the teeth. And I talked about the buck teeth thing. I talked about teachers at different schools. You know, there was a Mrs. Green in the 4th grade at Zeman. There was so many, Mr. Salmon, all the teachers I can think of that might stand out. Mr. Paulson, Mr. I think it was a Mr. Love or something like that. I think his last name was Love, and he taught a health class at Pound Junior High. People might want to check into that. I think his last name was Love or something like that, and he taught health at Pound Junior High, which is now called Pound Middle School. Everybody knows how old I am. I'm going to skip around a little bit here. But yeah, there's a lot of teachers. Mrs. Stamper, she was at Zeman Elementary School. I don't really remember. I just remember the name. There's a lot of Mrs. Smiths, Mrs. Walker. I do know Rob's mother. I don't remember her there, but he said she worked in the library. Nancy Chase, she helped out in the library there at Zeman. Anyways, all you have to do is date back and look through the yearbooks of the teachers, or maybe you can find out the faculty of the schools I went to during the years I went to those schools, and you will find some answers there, as well as the students. There's a lot of information, but you know, I can't stress that enough. I can't stress that the landmarks in the local streets and, you know, things about Nebraska are very relevant. Nebraska being in the heartland, Interstate 80 is the only interstate in which goes through Nebraska. Major highways, and then the fact that Jules Verne wrote a very old book dated back from the 1800s called Around the World in 80 Days. And then all the jury evidences I put online a couple years ago. So I don't know if those are still out there. I'm sure they're out there somewhere because I sent them out to, I think, Fox News, and then I sent them out to the Shapiro law firm back in the beginning. So I do know those are out there, as well as my marriage certificate dated April 21st, 1994, which Rob destroyed. I do know I had that online. I was supposed to put that online, and now I know that's very important. So, I hate to keep having to go through more and more evidence, but, people have premeditated my life to a degree in which, I'm abused daily with things in my body, and I've talked about that before, and sometimes it's excruciatingly painful, and they don't have any sense of compassion or have a conscience. They don't have a conscience, and so I keep providing more and more evidence. There's a great deal of evidence I put on my blogs tonight, and I probably have 6-7 pages of blogs, and the older they are, the less I've checked them. I mean, I haven't been back to my first blogs for, months and months, so I'm sure they've been messed with. I'm sure people have compromised my accounts at times, so when I say people know what I initially wrote, and so I don't know. I can't get back to them. There's just too much to talk about. There's too much to write about. And I don't have the time to go through all my blogs and proofread them all the time to make sure that they're okay. So I think people know where I'm coming from with most of it. I'm trying to protect myself and those who have malicious intentions against me for no reason. I don't know if I can pronounce this word. Ogolopolies. Instead of monopolies. I can't pronounce the word. I don't have it in front of me, but it's basically when you have a small business, kind of in a, kind of like from what happened to me, where we're only a small percentage of Lincoln knew who I was, and there was a small percentage of people in this confined area, in which has been making a lot of money off my life. And now what they did was they made it bigger, which they'll never admit to because it won't necessarily reflect on Wall Street, but by making me more famous like I am now, their profits are probably in the past 3-4 years have probably tripled or quadrupled or even more than that since this started, 30 years ago or whatever. So people are making a lot of money, even if it doesn't necessarily reflect on Wall Street, because if you have black market, as I said, they've kind of pandered my life and solicited my life um, and it's kind of in a very tight, been in a very tight realm of a small circle of people. Initially, when I talked about the 5% of the people who knew me, and in Lincoln, Nebraska, there's been, a certain percentage of the population here in Lincoln, Nebraska, in which has profited from my life, and more so than anywhere else in the world. And now I would say people are making a great deal of money because of the fame. So, and there's even songs about, it's called, I've even found it online, it's called Misery Business. And I'm sure there's newer songs about me being tortured. And what I don't understand is if they wanted to make money off me, I think they could do something more humane and be a little more reasonable and so forth. But they have been nothing less than cruel and just, there was daily abuse. There's been daily abuses with the pacemaker for the most part. The last few days there hasn't been. It's been mostly in my shoulders. Sometimes it feels like, there's burning in my shoulders, or it feels like somebody's driving nails into my collarbone. It's excruciatingly painful. And they send pains to my shoulder blades. Like that's supposed to mean something. Shoulder, I don't know where shoulder comes from. Seat belts or Hitler belts or chip on a shoulder. That's just a phrase. I don't actually have a chip on my shoulder, and so forth. So, whatever they're doing, I presume via RFID, it's extremely painful, and they've even started putting my, once in a while they'll put my right arm asleep like they're doing now while I'm talking. And and so forth. There's things that happen to my body that never happened until recent years, and some of the stuff I've adapted to, as far as like, which some people would never adapt to, such as the particular one of the pieces of RFID they put in my body. They have hooked up to police scanners or something. I believe it's a police scanner in which sends constant ambulance and sirens and that type of signals. And it's not everywhere I go. They have somebody wherever I'm living at the time, with some type of amplifier in which sends out this signal, and they can turn the volume up and down. Sometimes it's louder, sometimes it's not. And I can hear it in certain parts of the house, whereas I can't hear it in other parts of the house. And it's not normal, I never had it until after I had autumn. I've never ever had it before. The only sounds I ever heard were just like everybody else hears. When you have a TV on, a television on in the other room, you hear that high-pitched sound, which comes from your RFID. It's like interference in your body. That's normal. You get that. That's normal. Everybody hears that. I know everybody hears that. It's like a very high-pitched sound. You don't hear it all the time, but sometimes you hear it in the other room, and you'll know a TV's on without hearing the actual volume or voices or whatever on a TV, but you'll hear the high-pitched sound, and you'll know a television is on. So as far as knowing that it's in your body, you'll know it's in your body. I don't know who invented the term tinnitus, but tinnitus to me is RFID solely related. That's something in recent years, tinnitus, and I went to the doctor and he gave me these little stop sign patches you put behind your ears. This is like a bunch of crap. I don't know why the American Medical Association ever approved something like that for what they call tinnitus when it's frequency related, and a little patch behind the ear isn't going to stop that when you've got, they did that because they treat people like animals, because animals put the RFID, everybody knows this, they put the RFID behind the cat's or the dog's ears, right? And that's how they put their tags on the cats or dogs. The animals, they put it behind their ears or whatever. And obviously, what animals don't rank higher on the priority list, as far as who's more important, animals or humans. Well, they treat me worse than an animal. PETA, they go after people who leave their animals outside. Here I am, abused with pacemakers and RFID every day, and the human rights people don't do a damn thing. I've contacted the Lincoln, Nebraska human rights place. I've contacted Amnesty International. I've contacted all these places. I can prove this to the public and to the media on national television that this stuff is in my body. And I didn't put it there. And as to why, in this town, people seem to get by with whatever they want to do to other people, I have no idea. It's a bunch of crap. They shouldn't get by with it. I don't care who you are. Presidents can't go around shoving crap into people's bodies and saying, oh, well, we're more important to you than you, and we don't care about human rights, and we don't care about the laws of this country because they're there to protect people, but we're going to pretend they're not there. Okay? And then they want to say, oh, you can't leave the country. We want to box you in here because we put shit in your body. Excuse my language. We put stuff in your body that doesn't belong there, and we want to trap you here to death. I don't think that's how things work. That's why I'm so disappointed in the government thus far, because I have been screaming for over 3 years now. The abuses to my body started right around, the abuses to me, on a physical level, first time I was poisoned was when Barack Obama was running for office. Prior to that, my life was pretty simple. And it was the year he was running for president. I was poisoned. I'm not going to say the name because I shouldn't have to, but it was somebody who pretended to be my friend for 20 years. And then I think there was one other incident after that, and then the night before inauguration, I had some tea with some sugar, and then I went by ambulance at about 3 a.m. in the morning. I found out when I got to the hospital that I was 5 weeks pregnant with Autumn. And then, that got out of my system. You can't, the type of poison it was, it's not something you can really go to sleep with. Otherwise, it'll mess with your heart if you're laying down. But I don't have heart problems. And I haven't been poisoned recently because I'm too careful with what I eat and drink now. Now it's been, since I had Autumn, it's been the pacemaker. My survival skills have reached a very high peak. There's nothing I can do about a pacemaker in my chest. A dual lead pacemaker in which has leads on both my right and my left side of my chest, in which both I've felt both sides, and I don't know what right or left signifies, but I assume right was backwards. My left foot, the chip on my left foot. Everybody knows about the left side of my body and the things that have happened to my left side of my body. Well, on the left side of your body is where your heart is. That's where everybody's heart is at. If you are right-handed, then you are left-brained. If you are left-handed, you are right-brained, which means it's just how people think. It's psychology. It's just factual medical, medical, facts. It's just facts about medical stuff. And my left side of my body has more problems than my right side of my body, and has endured more problems than the right side of my body. The chip from when I was little was put in my left hand, I'm sure, and then that's how the foot thing came along. But it's not my fault that these people wanted to cause me problems. And the funny thing about this is that they'll sit there and they'll call me names, right? Okay, they'll call me names. How big of them? And I'm thinking, no, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. And they'll call me names because they say I have some sort of medical problem, or I was born something. And I'm 38 years old. And where do you suddenly come up with this so-called scenario? Well, if I had medical problems, they wouldn't be abusing me publicly. They would face up to me and want to help me, don't you think? Instead of sitting there coming across me and getting all defensive and blaming me for all their problems. Well, you know why they're doing that. It's because they're lying, for one. For two, they've made lots of money on me, on my life, and they don't want to pay up, and they don't want to share because they're greedy people. But, logically, if there was something medically wrong with me, or if there was something wrong with me when I was born, they wouldn't sit there and call me names and to public, to media, to the public in general. They wouldn't do that to somebody. They wouldn't chastise me because I married somebody named Chase. They wouldn't play Easter egg hunt because my maiden name is Eggers. They wouldn't be just meaner than mean, okay? They're just horrible, horrible people who are greedy and power hungry, and all they think about is themselves. And, um, you know, it's common sense. If there was something physically wrong with me, if there was something medically really wrong with me, then they would be nice to me. Correct? Right? If you see somebody with cancer, what did you sit there and call them names or 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 abuse them? You know? No, 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 no. No, you don't. Do you just walk up to them and hit them in the head? No. If you see somebody with some other handicapped person, do you walk up to them and just start beating them up because you say, oh, well, you don't like the way they look, or they make no sense. The presidents won't even face me with their frickin' claims because they're a bunch of frickin' liars. And neither will these other frickin' people from Southeast with their stupid claims because they know they're liars. Because logically, and, they're wrong. And factually, they're wrong. And they wanted to make this big production to sabotage my life, to make more money with the fame of my life, because my life has resulted in a lot, worldwide economy, okay? So, directly and indirectly. So, by bringing me more fame, they wanted to make more money. Do you know how much money they've probably made in the past 3 or 4 years? As I said, they've made so much money, which you're not going to see reflecting directly on the stock market. If it's black market money, it's going to go into hidden accounts or overseas or just be hidden, It's not necessarily going to reflect in our economy. Tight-knit people who want to kind of keep me closed in, away from the general public, and not want me to. They don't want me to capitalize on the fame that I didn't even want to begin with. So these people brought me all these problems, and they think they can complain that they didn't care enough to prevent problems, and they don't want to confront me, and they want to complain about me because of so and so and so, which is not even true, because you don't walk up to somebody out of nowhere and make outrageous claims about them. I'm 38 years old. I have 3 kids, and who cares if my husband's frickin' Russ's potato head frickin' card says 39 on it, and he's 39, and he wants me to be conveniently dead for him so he can go hang out with Kim or Shannon or whatever. This is how stupid this is. And the residents of Lincoln, Nebraska know about this. A good portion of the residents of Lincoln, Nebraska have profited from this. Not everybody, but probably, I don't know, 10, 20%, 25%, 30% of the population of Lincoln, Nebraska on the south side of town. People mainly on the south side of town have had some sort of economical, advantage to my life. So, the papers are I don't even read the Lincoln Journal Star, owned by Lee Enterprises. I don't read it. I don't read that crap because they're sitting there. It's just like these politicians who think we are the government. We are the government. Politicians are not the government. You just work for the government. You know, politicians do not represent the government in the laws of this country. If they're going to say, we can just come up and walk up to you and start bashing you and claim that you have some sort of medical problem and not even face up to your face and have, be a bunch of frickin' cowards from a distance and make claims with what you're wearing or whatever. And same goes for local people. Local people connected with these other people that are trying to buy off my life with money that's been made off of my life. You make no sense. You're sitting there saying I have a medical problem, but you're sitting there bashing me publicly, exploiting me more, and abusing me not only physically but emotionally in a public setting. Do you know how guilty you make yourselves look? You make yourselves look incredibly, incriminatingly guilty. You are guilty, you are guilty, you are guilty, but beyond a reasonable doubt. If I had something medically wrong with me, I'm sitting here saying, bring on the media, let's talk about it. I'm saying, let's talk about this. They're cowards. They're frickin' cowards. You're a bunch of frickin' cowards. Quit calling me names. Quit spreading slander and vicious lies about me because you're pathetic. There is nothing medically wrong with me other than the fact that people illegally crammed so much crap into my body without my consent and did it to my children because what I did? You know how the phrase goes, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. Well, I married my enemy. The Chase family are my biggest enemies. They're some of my biggest enemies. And they sit there and have crammed so much RFID into my children, especially Autumn. I'm so worried about her. I'm so worried about Sean. He doesn't look so good. And I friggin' hate the Chase family. I hate them. I hate them so much. I hate them. Just so they know that. I don't like you. I think you should frickin' go and frickin' die. I really do. I think you're bad people. These people have profited off of the misery of me and my children, and they don't even bat an eye. They like to pull these people with the Lassens and the Hedgelands and the Chases and the Travers and the frickin' Farleys and the Bamas and then the Bushes. They're all connected. And these people like to pull the wool over the public's eyes, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this little favoritism, public display of, badgering me and abusing me and try to corner me to death with your little diversion theft game, which is all illegal. The public knows there's something wrong when you're too chicken shit to want to provide some frickin' media. You're a bunch of frickin' cowards. You're a bunch of frickin' cowards. Just face up to it. You're just full of crap. You're a scam. You're a bunch of con artists. You like to profit off of people's misery, and there's even songs about it. There's even evidences out there that these people like to profit off of my misery and other people's misery. There's evidence out there. Pay attention. Wake up, people. They just can't stand the fact that I'm a good person. And they just love walking all over me. Walking all over me. They don't care. They don't care about people at all. All they care about is money and playing their little power social games. And they're pathetic. They're not even human. This is Kathy Chase, and What I say is the truth, nothing but the truth, to the best of my abilities. So help me God. I am not God. Um, and I'm not yellow. I'm not Godee. I'm not Jesus. I'm not Zeus or whoever. I'm not a color. I'm not a number. I'm not an animal. I'm not anything that these people want to be so viciously sick in their heads with trying to validate them, trying to use my life for their, their mini business ventures, then creating my exploit to get me killed, to try to maximize that to the highest form, to try to make the monopoly even bigger, and have no sense of any idea of what being a human's all about. They don't care about people, not at all. They don't care. But I do. I care about people, and I'd love to get out of my situation. And it'd be great if some of these people got into the hospital and somebody shoved their bodies full of RFID and showed them what it felt like to have people take advantage of every aspect of their life. Take their children and frickin' make them their little tea party of sickness, of mental illness, and profit. You don't profit off of children. You don't abuse them. What the hell is wrong with these people? The frickin' Hedgeland family. I don't know what's wrong with Kim's dad, but he sure had something's really wrong with their family. There's something really wrong with Richard Chase. There's something really, really wrong with these people. There's something wrong when you think it's okay. And the Huberts. Oh, we can't forget Shannon Hubert, Christy Hubert, Lonnie Hubert. We can't forget these people because they are evil, bad people. Christy Hubert works or has worked for the Department of Roads, 14th Street Penitentiary, where the electrical chair is, Paler Cisco, where Kim stated she had worked, and Vern Jensen stated, well, he had worked there for a long time. All part of this con artist scheme to monopolize off my life, and so forth. And they're very sick people. Can't forget Randy Traver. His mother Kathy Traver, she changed her name back to Kathy Farley, Farley. Rich Farley, Ray Farley, these people can confront me if they want, but I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of the abuse. I'm tired of people profiting off of my life and not caring about anybody but themselves. All these people have done is ruin my life for their pockets, for their wallets, for their change, and I'm tired of it. You can take your frickin' change and you can stick it where the sun don't shine because you don't care about people. You're liars. And I just said, if there was something medically wrong with me, with your claims of lying, you would be nice, wouldn't you? You don't walk up to somebody, if somebody has some medical problem, you don't walk up to them and you start batting them around and hitting them around and saying you're going to kill them. Everybody knows you're crazy.